Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredible global journey of the Ramayana and exploring just how an ancient Indian epic became this massive cultural cornerstone in countries all over the world.
So let's start with a bit of a puzzle. The Ramayana, right? It's a foundational Hindu story from India. So how in the world did it become the national epic of Thailand, a country that's predominantly Buddhist? Well, to figure that out, we have to follow the story on its own epic journey across the globe. First, to really understand how this story traveled, we need to get a sense of the sheer scale of its influence. I mean, this wasn't just a case of a book getting translated, it was a total cultural phenomenon. Get this, scholars estimate there are over 300 different versions of the Ramayana in Asia alone. 300. That number just blows my mind, and it gives you a tiny hint of just how deeply this story connected with people, far, far away from its original home. And we're not talking about simple photocopies here. As the story traveled, it was absorbed, remixed, and retold. Every culture that touched it made the Ramayana their own, weaving in their local beliefs, their folklore, and even incorporating completely different religious ideas like Buddhism. So let's go on a quick tour, shall we? We'll see a few of the epic's new homes and check out how the story totally transformed along the way. First stop, Thailand. Here, the Ramayana becomes the Ramakien, which literally means the glory of Rama. It's not just a story, it's their national epic. The hero, Rama, is known as Praram, and the story is an absolute cornerstone of Thai art, drama, and even their royal traditions. Now let's hop next door to Cambodia. Their version is called the Riamkar. And again, you can see the local flavor right in the names. Sita becomes Nyang Sita, and Rama is Priya Riem. The Cambodian version also weaves in some really distinct Buddhist themes, which is just a perfect example of that local adaptation we were talking about. And this is where it gets really interesting, because it shows just how creative these adaptations could get. In Malaysia's versions, sometimes it's Rama's brother, Lakshmana, who's the main hero. In Laos, Rama is seen as a past life of the Buddha himself. And in Myanmar, the story became this vibrant, living play, a huge part of their religious festivals. And listen, this wasn't just some folk tale for the common people. It was a powerful tool for kings. Rulers all over Southeast Asia tied themselves to the hero Rama to legitimize their own power. They named entire cities, like Ayutthaya in Thailand, after Rama's capital and commissioned these massive, incredible works of art, like the murals at Angkor Wat, just to show their connection to the epic. It was the ultimate royal branding. Okay, so all of this just begs the big question. How? How on earth did an Indian story travel so far across so much of Asia, centuries and centuries before phones or the internet? Well, it looks like the story spread in two huge global waves. The first one kicked off almost 2,000 years ago. And what's really important to get is that this wasn't some kind of cultural invasion. The story spread peacefully from person to person. The epic basically traveled along the great trade superhighways of the ancient world. It went overland through the mountains up into Central Asia and China. It sailed by sea from ports in India across the Indian Ocean, and it moved overland again from eastern India into places we now know as Myanmar, Thailand, and Laos. And who was carrying it? Well, it was everybody. It was merchants trading spices and textiles, but also trading stories. It was priests and monks bringing their philosophies and their sacred texts with them. It was scholars and adventurers. They weren't just carrying goods, they were carrying an entire cultural world in their heads. But hold on, that was only the first journey. Centuries later, the Ramayana set off on a second, completely different voyage, one that took it to brand new continents. Yeah, this next chapter begins with a group of people known as the Gurmatiyas. The name actually comes from the word agreement, the contracts for indentured labor that sent them from India to work on plantations all across the British Empire. Now, this was a very, very different kind of migration. These weren't powerful merchants or priests. They were laborers, mostly from North India, who got on ships with almost nothing, facing a really uncertain future in a land they'd never seen. But they carried something incredibly precious with them, their culture. And so, they took the Ramayana, specifically a really popular version from their region called the Ramcharitmanas, to new homes in places like Trinidad, Mauritius, Fiji, and Guyana. They carried their stories, their faith, and their traditions to these totally unfamiliar shores. And for these communities, separated from their homes by thousands and thousands of miles, the story took on this new, profound meaning. The tale of Rama's long exile, his struggles, and then his triumphant return, well, that wasn't just a story anymore. It was their story. It was a source of strength, of identity, and an anchor to the homeland they had lost.
So, after traveling across ancient trade routes and modern oceans, what does this incredible journey of the Ramayana really teach us?
It shows us that one single story can do so many different things. For ancient Asia, it was a vehicle for cultural exchange and a powerful symbol of royal power. For the modern diaspora, it became a lifeline, a way to hold on to their identity and find hope when things got tough.
Ultimately, what this really shows us is that the true power of a story isn't about being preserved perfectly behind glass. No, its power is in its ability to be told and retold, to be changed and adapted, and to find new meaning for new people in new lands. It's a living, breathing thing that connects all of us. And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. The Ramayana's journey took centuries. Today, our stories can travel the globe in a split second. It really makes you wonder, which of our modern epics, our movies, our shows, our books, are making that same journey right now? And how will people 100 years from now remember them and retell them?